And we're back with another episode of Successful Marketing, Sales, and Relationships for Adult Business Owners and Entrepreneurs, where we teach you how to have a more beautiful, wonderful business so you can have a more beautiful, wonderful life. And I am your host, best-selling author Sadon Long. And today, man, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into what I've been learning over the last, I guess, 7 years or so with people who've done a significant amount of income. We're talking millions of dollars. Some of those people that you see, driving in these Bentleys, that you see living in these houses, some of those people that you see doing these really cool things. So, I've been lucky, I've been blessed, I've been honored to play a role with some of those people. And, in some cases, it's writing books like The Big Picture. In other cases, it's being an advisor. In other cases, it's putting together marketing plans. But, I've been in the room and been blessed to be considered friend and confidant to some really cool people. So there's some common things that I think that our people are hiding and people are not giving you, as they say, giving you the sauce, giving you the secrets, and I'm going to give you the three secrets, at least from my perspective, that I found that all the millionaires that I've either been friends with, worked with, been in the room, been able to ask questions of, have given me, the game. And I'm giving it to you because I want you to have this same game because you're only good customers away from being financially free, especially if you're someone who's over 35. So, but before we get started, we're one day away. That's right, one day away. We're one day away from Elevate 2024, the ultimate brand experience. Get your business off the ground this year at Set Studios in Maryville, Indiana. I'll be there at 3 o'clock, and so will my information and processes, as well as Crystal L. Johnson, Tia Muhammad, Jeremy Lander, Shy Tobert, and the amazing Paul Kaiser. You know, as well as our host, Lamisa Marshall. And word on the street is that there actually may be a special guest as well. But you got one day left to get your tickets because I keep saying we're not breaking the fire code for you. So either you get your seat today and pull up and get this information from people who've actually done it. People who can actually say that they've gotten customers doing this, that they've actually helped people doing this, that they've kept people out of jail by doing this, so that you can do it too. Because again, once you're around people who can give you the formula, who can give you the processes, who can give you the game, and help you customize them to fit your business, fit your talents, fit your abilities, then that gives you a significant chance to really be successful and really follow your dream and really take care of your family and really set yourself up for a good retirement. Because you can't predict inflation. You can't predict, whether or not there's a new COVID or something else. So you got to be prepared. And the best way to prepare yourself and to have unlimited income is to be a business owner. Because the company's always going to decide what they want to pay you. I mean, tell me somebody who gets to go into the office and say, "Oh, I want a significant raise today." You know, and with that being said, if your thought process is, well, I'll get the information when I get the money, so you're gonna get the thing that's gonna help you get the money after you get the money. Hmm. I don't know how well that works. I would say from my own experience that sometimes you just got to step out on faith and work really hard. When I first started, I had to spend some money, and in spending that money, it was gone. But you know what it did? It forced me into a situation where I had no choice but to work. I had no choice but to learn. I had no choice but to eliminate the distractions. I had no choice but to really focus in on the things that mattered. And what you realize is that, man, going out doesn't really matter. Sporting events don't really matter. Drinks and cigars don't really matter. Some of these relationships and friendships you in, they don't really matter when it all comes down to either surviving or not surviving. That you can really build a business if you put yourself in the right environment. So again, you know, it is February 3rd, which is right around the corner, less than, a little over 24 hours away at this point. And I'm gonna be in the room, you know. And here's a question I got for you before we get into it. I got a question for you. Okay, so if my work has helped make millions of dollars multiple times, and I'm in a room, what's the likelihood that I could at least help you make a couple $100s? So okay, let's just say my work helps you make $400 in the next 2 months. Okay, so that's $400. So now in another 2 months, it helps you make another $400. That's $800. So in 3 months, it helps you make another $400. In 2 more months, it helps you make another $400. So now, by the time we get to the end of the summer, that's $1,200. So what if I told you today that on August 25th, I was going to give you $1,200? How would that make you feel? Well, if you show up tomorrow, I'm going to give you a plan that at the minimum can help you do that. I mean, that's what, $100 a week, roughly? No, yeah, roughly about $100 a week. No, 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 I take that back. That is $50 a week. And here's the thing, anything that you learn over time, you just get better at doing it. If you do a podcast today, podcast tomorrow, by the time you do the third podcast, you will have figured out something that you could do a little bit better. You'll be a little bit more comfortable. You'll be a little bit more confident. So why not get the information, do it long enough to see if it works, so that you can then make the necessary adjustments so that you can have the success that you need. Which leads me into my first point. Things that I've learned from the millionaires that I've worked with. Number one, the first thing I've learned from millionaires that I worked with is that they're just way more active than the above average person. Let me say it one more time. The one thing that I've learned one of the things I've learned working and helping millionaires make millions is that they're just way more active than the average, above average person. Okay, well, what do I mean? I mean that they just try more often. Okay, so if somebody has an idea, let's just say you and a millionaire, you both have an idea on Monday. Okay, on Friday, you still have an idea. On Friday, they have a product, they have a plan, they have something that they can start selling by the weekend. So, for example, one of the people I worked with, they wanted to do an online program. Called me, we were talking about it, asked if I knew anybody, told them I know how to, put together all the steps to an online course. They sent me a check. By Friday, they had an online course. Somebody else will say, hey, man, I want an online course. I heard that you could help me. 6 months later, still no online course. Still no online course. So if you don't do the thing, you can't get the benefit of doing it. Okay? If you never write the book, if you never start the business, if you never create the online course, if you never have the webinar, if you never have the thing, now you have nothing to sell. And if you have nothing to sell, how are you going to have a wealth transfer? Yeah. So that's the first thing I've learned. They're just way more active. They have ideas, they try them, they throw them against the wall, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. But the thing is, if you keep going and throwing ideas and trying things, some of those things will actually work. And once you get something that does work, then you can start to figure out why it worked and make it work better. One of the things that you always see is you always see people talking about they went broke. I started something, it didn't work, I went broke. I'm one of those people. But what you learn in the process of going broke is that the number one reason you probably went broke is because you just weren't active enough. You weren't selling enough. You weren't asking enough. You weren't presenting enough. You weren't in front of enough people. So activity is extremely important. If you have something worth selling and you only reach out to 5 people, that only gives you a chance to get 5 yeses. And more than likely, you're probably not going to get 5 yeses. Probably going to get 5 no's the first time. But imagine if you reach out to 500 people. You reach out to 500 people with a good offer in an area that you know that they need help in. What are your chances of success? And here's the cool thing about that. After the first 100 people, because again, I spent 10 years in recruiting, and here's something I learned from recruiting that I'm going to share with you. After that first 100 people, you start knowing what the excuses are going to be. You start knowing what's going to happen in advance to the point where you can almost predict what they're going to say. And then you make your adjustments to make it more effective. So maybe the first 100 people are telling you no. And then you start saying, well, people keep saying they don't have time. So now the next 100 people, you're like, yeah, but whatever you're doing right now isn't working, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. So basically, you're busy doing something that doesn't work. Or you say, hey, I get it, we're all busy, but how much more effective could you be if you were making more money? How much less busy could you be if you bought the product? No, let's just say, it's me and I help you make more money online. Okay. How much less busy would you be because now you're making money and you could hire somebody? So when people tell me they're busy, I'm like, hey, no problem. We'll learn how to do it right now in your busiest state so that you can then get somebody to help you be less busy. So that you can get an assistant, so that you can automate your systems, so that we can start taking full advantage of every opportunity around you and you're not just running pillar to post. But you learn that over time. I'll go back to, being in recruiting. After a while, I knew people were going to have a negative response. Okay. So when people have a negative response, I agree with them. You're right. They probably did do you wrong, but you still need your degree. Because long after these people are dead and gone, you're still going to need your degree. So whether they made you mad, whether they pissed you off, or whether they ain't right or not, you need to consider finishing your program. And some people actually did, because for some people it made sense to finish their program. And some of those people, not all, because there's 100% of nothing very seldom exists, but not all of those people did. But you know what? More people did than would have had I not made those calls and made those adjustments. So, number one, just way more active. Way more active. So, if you could take anything away from it, just get more active. Put more time in, get a better schedule, get a better set of habits, and just keep moving in the right direction. Because even if it fails fast, you learn from it, and the next time it's a little bit more successful. Maybe you recoup your money, and maybe from there, you build $1 million business. So number two on things that I've learned working with and helping people who make millions make their millions is that they have very short memories. Shout out to Corey Elliott. One of the things that I heard from her, which is there is no such thing as permanent enemies. So I'm gonna say it one more time. There is no such thing as permanent enemies. So you may be in a situation right now where somebody has wronged you. You may be in a situation right now where something has happened to you. You may be in a situation where things just have not gone your way. But you know what? You're here. So while you're here, you can do something about it. I know it's tough. I get it. They wrong. You know, I know. I understand. I hear you. But you're still here. And you're still breathing. And daylight is a green light in my book for you to still be able to get the thing done. So even if they did do you wrong, even if they did steal the money from you, even if they did lie to you, cheat you, you can still do something to make your life better. You can still do something for your kids. You can still do something for your kids' kids. You can still do something to put yourself in a business in a position to make millions of dollars because you're the thing that makes the money. It is your brilliance. It is your brain. It is your witty ideas, inventions, name, likeness, and experience that puts these things into play. You're the creator. So if you're the creator and you can create that thing, you just create something else. And if you were just a scammer in the first place, then you probably got what you deserved. As Jay-Z said, hey, you made Hove, make another Hove. And if you really did make Hove or made whatever product or had whatever success, you just do it again. So again, the thing is that man, they got real short memories. They're not walking around going, that person did me wrong. What they're doing is they're going, yeah, that happened, but hey, I'm still me. So let me get to it and let me do it again. That album flopped, that project flopped. Oh well, let me get back to it. You know, so for people sitting at home, need you to understand something. The majority of people who are talking about who did them wrong are only talking about that because they've never moved beyond it, because they never did anything else. You know, they've been stuck right there. Again, if you became who you were supposed to become, that just becomes a footnote in your story. You know, and it makes the story just that much better. Yeah, my first deal was horrible. Yeah, they played me. Woo, 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 woo. But now I'm worth millions. I mean, I always look at myself and I say, hey, yeah, there was a time when I was going broke. There was a time when, I was charging by the hour. There was a time when I was making way more money for clients than I was making for myself. And I didn't know how to price, and I didn't know what to charge, and I didn't know what to say, and I didn't know how to stand on business. Because the reality is nobody's going to give you anything. You get what you negotiate. Let me repeat that. Nobody's going to give you anything. You get what you negotiate. If you negotiate the big deal, you get the big deal. If you don't negotiate the big deal, you don't get it. Bible says you have not for you ask not. So if you're sitting at the table and they're saying, "Hey, here's what we want to give you," you say, "Hey, I don't see how I could do it for that price." So now you say, "Well, they're gonna ask somebody else." Okay, well then you learned that you have to be more useful, more indispensable, more impactful, so that you put yourself in a position where they can't not do business with you. You know, but back to the fact that the millionaires that I've worked with, and the millionaires I've been around, and the millionaires I've helped make millions, short memories, man. Uh, They're not running around living in the past. They're not running around talking about who did them wrong. They're not running around saying this stopped me or this thing right here is why I can't be successful. Because success is usually going to come if you keep doing the right thing long enough for it to come. But if you blame people, then you can never make change because your blaming is going to make all of the change be them, not you. So if you say it was that woman you gave me, now you need the woman to change for the problem to change. But if you say it was the woman I chose, then I get to choose a different woman. If you say all of these men are trash, okay, then now you need the men to not become trash in order for you to get what you want. But if you say, hey, the man I chose was trash, now you just choose differently. Same thing with everything. If you keep putting it on vendors, if you keep putting it on people being cheap, if you keep putting it on people who don't support, then you're never going to get out of the situation. You just say, hey, I didn't do a good enough job last time. I need to do better next time. Where can I improve? Where can I make a difference? Where could I change? And now you move forward. But if you keep putting it on other people, then you can't change because it's not your fault. But if you take accountability of it, radical accountability, shout out to Sean Boyd, then you're the one who can then move yourself in the right direction. So a lot of times we talk about, and I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, and I apologize for that. We talk about trauma, okay, and we talk about the traumas, but what about the growth? You know, there's post-traumatic stress syndrome. We get it. There are things from our childhood that are unresolved. But at what point do we grow past them? At what point do we stop letting those things be the things that define us? How long before we get to say no more? When you finally can say, hey, yeah, this is what I used to be, but I'm not that person anymore. Shout out to Alex from Mosey. I think this is Alex from Mosey I got this from. But, Alice was saying, people, say that you changed, but they say that you changed because they don't know how to say you've grown. People say that you changed because they don't know how to say that you've grown. You know, they don't know how to say you've gotten more disciplined. They don't know how to say, oh my God, you finally learned how to set boundaries. Oh my God, you finally learned how to stand up for yourself. Oh my God, you finally stopped letting people use you. So all they know how to say is you changed. But in reality, you've improved. You've gotten better. You've gotten smarter. You've gotten wiser. You've gotten better. So for all of the people who used to use you, yeah, they're going to say you changed. For all the people who used to take advantage of you, yeah, they're going to say you changed. And they're going to try to reel you back in to being beneficial to them. And now you walk around dancing to somebody else's beat, living in somebody else's life, starring in somebody else's movie, or should I say co-starring, or playing a support role in somebody else's movie. When the reality is, you have to move and live and do what you were called to do if you want to be happy. If you want to feel the joy and you want to feel the freedom, then you got to do what you've been called to do. And that may mean that, hey, man, some of these people I fool with, they're just going to be mad at me. They're going to talk about me behind my back, tell me that, my ideas ain't going to work. They're going to talk about me behind my back, say that I'm crazy and obsessed and I'm a workaholic and all these things. But you know what you find out is when you make it, all those same people are going to come right back and be like, oh, girl, I knew you could do it. Not going to even acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I was talking bad about you every time you wouldn't go out with us. But successful people, short memory. You know, they forget all about that because if you can help them do business, if you can help them make money, we'll be friends again. So with that being said, you have to look at it the same way if you want what they have. Which is, yeah, we might have had a disagreement, but business is business. And if this helps me feed my family and protect my legacy and help my mom and help my husband or wife, then I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna walk around talking about, yeah, they did me wrong. I ain't calling them back. One of the worst mistakes I made in life, was holding a grudge and being hard at it. Cost me thousands of, hell, probably cost me millions of dollars. And all I got out of it was what? Some momentary satisfaction in saying, I'm not going to do it. You know, Bible says that pride, comes before a fall. So, got to have a short memory. Got to put some of this stuff behind you. Got to pack light, as Eric Badu says. And then the third thing that I've learned from helping people who are millionaires make their millions is they're users. Yep, that's right. Millionaires are users. I'm going to say it again. Millionaires are users. They're users. They will use you. That is correct. They will use you all day if they can. You know why? Because you ain't using you. So if you don't want to use your talent to make $1 million, they will. If you don't want to use your graphic talent to start to build your own website, they'll use you to build theirs. If you don't want to use your strength and talent to cut grass and trim trees, they'll use you in their landscaping business. They'll use you to do their books. They'll use you, to sing their songs. They'll use you to promote their products. They'll use you. So the thing is, they're only able to use you because you allow them to. You know, again, if they want to use my talents and skills, and I don't know what to charge them, that's on me, not on them. It's on me because all they see is somebody who has extreme talent that can help them make $1 million. Okay, so hell, let me use your mind, let me use your experience, let me use your talent to make me some money. Nothing's bad about that if you know how to negotiate to get proper compensation for yourself, or at least compensation you can live with. Benefits you can live with. Okay, maybe you couldn't pay me 100,000 because I made you $1 million. 10%, that's 100,000. Maybe you couldn't pay me that, but what would make this beneficial for me? Would it be some referrals? Would it be some percentages? Would it be some equity? What can make it a good deal for both of us? So that way, not only are you getting used, but you're using yourself and using your gift to make room in your own life for the things that you want and need. So again, the only reason they're able to use your gift is because you're not using your gift. If you don't have a plan for you, somebody else will. When you get a job, they're using you. And most of the time, if you don't have a plan for yourself, you're gonna look up one day and they're gonna use you up. You're gonna be on your way out the door with bad knees, bad backs, and not much money because you let them use you. You weren't learning everything you could possibly learn while you were there to make it mutually beneficial for the both of you. I'm grateful for every opportunity I've ever had. When I worked in retail, I didn't really get it in the beginning, but by the time I got to the end, I realized how to manage people, how to coach, how to train, how to develop. And I would take my ideas and try them out, which helped me develop my curriculums, would help me develop, my coaching, which helped me develop my advising. So now when I'm sitting with a CEO, I'm sitting with somebody who's actually run a business before, who's actually had to train and coach people, who's had to coach people who really probably weren't at the top of the food chain in regard to desire. Because sometimes as a business owner, what you forget is when you were in a leadership position that you weren't the one that they were afraid of. They were afraid of the company. So yeah, people honored your word and people listened to what you were saying and they did what they were told. But they did it because they were afraid of the company. They were afraid of Merrill Lynch. They were afraid of State Farm. They weren't afraid of you. But now when you own your own business, you're the authority. So those same people who would try to get over on you at the company and the HR department would have caught them. Now you got to catch them. Because if they're stealing your stuff and they're taking advantage of you, then you suffer the consequences of that. So while you're at your job, learn as much as you can about how to deal with people as possible. So when you get your own business, you know what to do. So again, I don't regret it. Being in recruiting put me on the phones every day. It gave me the confidence to run my mouth, which is why I can sit here in front of you with no fear, no shame, no nerves, no nothing. And a lot of times, really no paper, no notes, just maybe some thoughts and things that I worked through in my head and just putting them out here. But it gave me an opportunity to hone a skill that I've used since then to make a lot of money for myself and others. So again, they'll use you. Just don't let them use you up. Shout out to Big Jasper, songwriter extraordinaire. He's like, you want to be used. You want to be useful. You want to be able to be in the mix. You just don't want to get used up. So again, if you can be useful to other people, you can dang on sure be useful to yourself. So yeah, don't let them use you without you getting something out of the deal that is going to help move you forward, that is going to help your family, that is going to put you in a position to retire and still have quality of life. that is going to allow you to sleep good at night, knowing that your bills are paid, knowing that nothing's going to get turned off, knowing that, hey, man, if I want to take a trip, I can. Knowing that if my car doesn't start, I can get it fixed. Knowing that if my kid calls me, that I can actually get up and do what I need to do to help them. If they miss a flight, I can get my card out and get on my laptop and get them another one. Knowing that if my mother's sick and she needs something, I can help her. That's what you need to be able to say when you have a business, that it is meeting my needs. You need to be able to have a business that covers your family. But if you keep allowing people to use you and take advantage of you and teach you nothing and give you nothing in recompense for what it is that you're giving them, then you're putting your family at jeopardy. You need to be able to walk away with something that you can then use to sustain yourself. And it's not always just the money. Sometimes it's a referral. Sometimes it's an endorsement. Sometimes it's just some gain on how this thing really works and how I can make it work for me. Because, to quote the great Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. And today I've given you a few clues. I've given you that, hey, man, they're just way more active. They're making more calls, they're making more connections, they're trying more things, they're taking more risks. So if you just boost your activity level, from 5 posts to maybe 15 posts, you'll be a lot more lucky. The second thing is, they got short memories. Again, I'll say shout out to Corey Elliott. There are no permanent enemies. So you can't walk around for 20 years holding a grudge, because sometimes those things circle back around and you're going to have to do business with those people. And if you don't do business with them, you might miss them. There are going to be people who talk about you, backbite you, and then turn around and be in your face. But if you spend all your time looking in the rear view, you can never get to where you're trying to go. Now you just do better the next time. You put together the contract that protects you. You get the attorneys involved. So now, in the future, hey, I don't get screwed like that again. I learn from my errors, but I don't dwell on them. You learn from your errors and don't dwell on them. You don't look back. You keep moving. You learn, you live, and you leap. That's what you do. So again, short memory. It's like I forget all that stuff and I start over anew. I'm not holding on to it, not being defined by it. I'm going to get up tomorrow and start all over again. Not only stop, just to start all over again. And then the last thing is their users, man. There are a whole bunch of people out here right now complaining, like, he used me, he took advantage of me. But if you do not have a plan for your life, other people will. I get at least 1 or 2 calls a week, from somebody with an idea that they want to make me a part of. And all that tells me every time when I get that call is that I'm not doing enough. If somebody calls me with some harebrained scheme that's going to require I do a whole lot of work, that means they think I got way too much time. But when you're active and you're busy, all of a sudden people start leaving you alone. Why? Because they see you working, because they see you grinding. But if they see you just playing on the internet, if they see you just chilling all the time, then they're going to start figuring out ways to make you more beneficial to them, because you don't want to be beneficial to yourself. It's just like when you're at your job. You sitting at the desk looking like you doing nothing. Now all of a sudden you find yourself downstairs helping people take stuff out of the car. You ain't doing nothing. So again, that goes hand in hand with activity. But again, I'm a harp on this thing because I care. This really has nothing to do with me. This is not me preaching to you. You could pretend I'm not even here and just listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. You need to have a plan for you. You need to use your gift. You need to make sure that you are benefiting from the relationships that you are in. God did not put you on this earth to get pushed around, bullied, and taken advantage of and end up broke. You know, it says that the work is worthy of the hire. So therefore, there should be some recompense. You should be getting something in return. You know, but if you're not doing anything, then you can't say that they used you. All they did was take a talent that was available and put it to work. And at the same time, you need to take other people's talents and put them to work. You got a talented daughter, talented son, talented niece, talented nephew, talented neighbor, and they don't want to do nothing with it. They don't want to start a business. Then you hire them. You partner with them. You know, but don't let the talent go to waste. Hell, I'm glad that people used me because that's how I learned. You know, I'm glad. If people hadn't used me and hadn't taken advantage of me or taken advantage of me not understanding or knowing, I would have never known. Because in the beginning, I didn't know I could make somebody $1 million. I didn't know my work could do that. But I learned. Didn't know, that my words could turn into wealth and that I could turn people's ideas into income and that my marketing could actually make money, primarily because I came from sales first. Very few marketers come from sales. Most marketers have never had to be accountable for a number. So the way they judge success is completely different. No disrespect, but as somebody who's been accountable for revenue generation, I'm looking at that. I'm saying, okay, well, this is what we did. Now, what do we get in return? Whereas most people who've come into the marketing space, because it's a low, low entry, opportunity for a lot of people, especially with small business owners. And I'm talking to small business owners because I need you to understand this, because this is something that you really need to know when you start sitting down and trying to hire these people. Okay. Most of them don't come from sales. Most of them never sold anything. So now when they put together a plan for you and they say, hey, we're going to post this many times a day or we're going to have a photo shoot, they're not attached to the outcome, which is that this is supposed to be getting you sales. This is supposed to be putting you on a path to financial freedom. So when you say I hired a marketing guy, you invest money in them and they don't give you any return on your investment. So now you're sitting there like, man, I just spent $5,000 on this person and I ain't make $1. But the reason you didn't make $1 is because you were dealing with somebody who had never sold anything. So they didn't design it to sell. They didn't design it to close. They didn't design it to keep. They didn't design it to generate profits. They designed it to be pretty. You know, they designed it to be pleasant to see, but not to close. So now for them, they're going to judge that on how many insights you got, how many follows you got, how many views you got, how many people were on your page, how long they stayed. And I'm not hating on any of that because traffic is important. But you have to close to get a wealth transfer. If there is no wealth transfer, then that means that you are eventually going to have to go get a regular 9 to 5 and let people use you again. So again, you need to be in the room with someone who can actually create wealth transfers. That you can actually exchange your services and get something back in return that helps you feed your family, that helps you sleep good at night. Because real talk, man, it's hard to sleep good at night, worried about whether or not they're going to turn your lights off, whether or not your license is going to get suspended, whether or not your car's going to get repoed, worried about whether or not you're going to have enough money to cover tuition. And if you are an adult, which is what I work with, and you got kids in really good schools and you're an entrepreneur, you don't want those kids to suffer that embarrassment. Do you really want your kid to have to go to the bursar's office because they couldn't get into the gym because the card wouldn't swipe? or they wouldn't let them eat dinner, or they came and told them that hey man, we need you to come, and meet with some people because you owe us money. Do you really want your kid to have to suffer that type of embarrassment? Well, if you don't have the money to pay, that's what's going to happen. You know. So again, this isn't about the money. This is about the protection that the money provides. This is not about the money. This is about the protection and the opportunities and the freedom that comes with the money. If you have an extremely talented child in a sport, shout out to my people who have kids who play with these traveling teams and AAU. You know that those things are expensive. That going from city to city playing these games costs money, especially if you want to go support. If you want to go and you want to be there to see what your son's doing after the games are over. If you want to be there, making sure that your daughter isn't being taken advantage of on the trip, that they're not drinking, drugging, and smoking. It's going to cost you money to be there. And you have to have the time to be there. So if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you need sales and you need to be able to hire good people so that you'll have the freedom and the confidence to go. If you got a kid who plays football, hey man, he might need to go to the camps. He might need a coach. You have the strong, tall, strapping young man who throws the football very well. He might need a quarterback coach. Quarterback coaches don't take insights and follows. They take cash, credit card, check. And in order to have that wealth to give your kid the life and the opportunity to fulfill their dream, you need to be generating revenue. You will hear me say this over and over and over and over again. There is God, the angels, and marketing experts. Because these are the people who can help you. These are the people who can help you have a wealth transfer. I'm a servant. My job is to be here and help you get what God wants to give you from the heavens to your accounts. So with that being said, man, this has been another episode of successful, not just marketing, sales, and relationships, but successful marketing, sales, and relationships. And if you have any questions, man, leave them in the DMs, leave them in the comments. But what I would prefer is that you went over to growandrich.com and click that Make Money Fast button, because they're going to send me an email and I'm going to send you one back and we're going to set up a call. And we're going to talk about your business and anything that my experience with working with millionaires and helping them make their millions can shed light on what it is that you're doing and help you actually become one of those people yourself. Because obviously I want to have more of them under my belt and on my resume. You get to keep it and use it for free because the call's on me. Oh, and by the way, do not forget, if you're in the Chicagoland area tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Set Scope and Studios. The information will be there, and I'll be there too. Okay, so again, this has been a pleasure. It has been an honor as always. This is your host, Sadon Long, a.k.a. your business big bro, a.k.a. the most dangerous man in marketing. Signing out. Have a great weekend. Go over to the Grown and Rich page. Click the Make Money Fast button. Let's get it going. Run it up in 2024. As always, I love you, and I'm out. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.